This is an interesting radio. In 1966, RCA Victor 5-tube radio. What made it interesting to me was I saw this on eBay. It had no bids on it. And at first, I just bypassed it. I said, well, it's a solid state or whatever, boring, ho-hum. I looked closer, and it turned out it was a tube radio. Now, it came yesterday. What amazed me about this thing was the condition of it. It is packing crate condition. There's not a scratch on it. There's no evidence that this radio was ever used. Even the common areas inside the volume knob, the ridges on the knob, they get filled with finger crud, and they also discolor to yellow. This has not done any such thing. Also, on the aluminum trim, this fake painted wood grain gets scratched up by fingernails when you tune the station. Nothing. I mean, it's just as mint as it could possibly be. Its only flaw is a factory rub mark on the knob right there, and that was it. It didn't work when I got it, and the reason it didn't work, and I think that's what kept us into the state of preservation that it's in, it probably failed right as soon as the warranty expired. Interesting that this model year for RCA 66 would be the last time they would offer an all-tube radio, AM radio. And of course, there's a lot of noise in this house from
over 25 years. And recently, J.D. Power and Associates ranked Quicken Loans highest.
It's a good radio.
Lawyers, bloggers,
it's a very good radio.
For free for 30 days. That's barracuda.com/archiver.
Let's take a look inside of it. Looking at this thing, the other evidence, you got to be some kind of a Sherlock Holmes with these things when you're trying to determine if indeed it was never used. You look at this thing inside. Every tube is original in it, and there's no dust in it. None. When you have something that produces heat like a table radio, it draws dust from the room in by way of convection through the vents in the cabinet and deposits it inside the cabinet. As well, you normally have a film of dust and heat up in the top of the cabinet here. Is a heat reflecting shield to keep the cabinet from melting. Nothing. This thing didn't see any use at all. Nothing at all. And I haven't cleaned it, not a bit. Didn't need to be cleaned. And anyway, the original filter capacitor is right here. This paper cap right here, made by Pyramid Capacitors. And it's been replaced with these two little parts here. Today's modern equivalent of an electrolytic capacitor. And it's standard fare. That's your oscillator coil, a tuning capacitor, and the 5 tubes. A nice little 3x5-inch oval speaker with ferrite bar antenna. This is my only beef here, is the antenna is covered with wax, so you can't adjust the windings on it. And I've noticed that if you bring your hand near it, it does get more sensitive, and the trimming is done as well as it can be. But it's still good. It's still sensitive. It's just I prefer it to where I can move the wiring back and forth to tune it a little bit better. Anyway, and there's the output transformer, the 2 IF transformers, and interesting, if these things really have only 2 problems that would ever happen. First is you hear a loud hum when you first turn it on, and even if the volume is all the way down, you hear it hum. That's the filter capacitor that's going bad. The other problem they have is you hear like there's a lightning storm nearby. You hear a crashing static. That's the IF transformers. And they go bad because there's a small built-in padder capacitor built into the base of these IF transformers. And the aluminum sheets between the mica sheets, the mica perforates, and corrosion sets in on the aluminum, and it leaks between the capacitors, and it causes the static, and you have to replace the IFs. But anyway, that's a look at the 1966 RCA Victor 5-tube table radio. Oh, there's one more thing on these which is interesting. Notice over here, I'm going to pull this tube out of the way so you can get a better look at it. This little thing back here, that is a forerunner of the integrated circuit. That's called a PEC, or a packaged electronic circuit. It came out in the early to mid-50s, using them in televisions and radios. And it took the place of resistors and capacitors. You notice how few parts there are in here. They're all inside here. These were fortunately very reliable because they had no active components and no heat-producing components. But they were the front runner of the integrated circuit, and they're used in basically all of the 5-tube radios of this era. And anyway, that's it. This I thought was worthy of a video just because of how unique it was and the condition it was in. Anyway, that's it.